Hi, Alan Millard, Men's Equality. Today I'd like to talk about the differences in empathy and how that applies to men's fate in society and everyday activity, their complete interrelations with women as well as men. And I'd like to share a story about a fellow I've known for many years. And he hasn't really wanted to share this too much, but he finally did with me. I don't know. They know they can trust me. So many men and women too have opened up to me about their personal experiences and some of their, unfortunate times that they've had. And this fella, he explained to me, I knew that he went through a lot in his divorce and meeting someone. She was an Asian gal. But he told me in detail about what happened in their split up and divorce. Well, he was a hard worker as far as physical labor goes, and he had an accident at work, and it paralyzed him, thank goodness, only temporarily, but during this time, he was in intensive care, and he had a full-time nurse, and then finally he went from the hospital, in a hospital bed, home, but he was all incapable of even hardly moving. He was in a pretty much totally isolated. He couldn't move his arms. He was in traction. He couldn't do anything for himself, and let alone even get out of bed. And he had a nurse too that would come 12 hours of the day, and then his wife would be there with him the other 12, is the way he explained it. And one day, he realized there was smoke in the air, and his wife at the time set fires in 3 different locations around his bed. And then she took off. And he told me the hell he went through was inconceivable to the average person. And just by chance, as she was leaving, his mother and her husband, it would be his stepfather, they showed up, and she seen them coming up the driveway. And so she raced back into the trailer. They were in a trailer, and she put these fires out and then left. And then his mother and his stepdad, they showed up, and they were all upset. They couldn't understand what was happening. The place was filled with smoke, and he was delirious. He couldn't even communicate with them. And just after that, then his nurse shows up, and she was really upset about the whole situation too. But that's not the end of the story. It gets worse. She ends up in their divorce after this, taking most all of his stuff, devastating his business. And he's, it's been hard. I mean, it's a wonder he didn't take his own life. But that's a story I wanted to share as far as men's plight. And also I want to mention here, due to how men are groomed and conditioned to not regard themselves, and other men also don't regard other men. There's this empathy gap that's a part of the masculinity script, and that's a big part of why people like this don't come out. And according to stats and research, I'm finding out in many different cases that boys will rather be considered offenders rather than victims when it comes to sexual assault. And this is very important when it comes to the statistics in men and boys. It applies to men too in their abuse by women. But it really does apply to what we see in society and don't see in society, and the plight of men, and how so many men, it can even be made humorous when it comes to men. And we see that all the time on sitcoms where any kind of abuse, sexual abuse, is humorous when it comes to men, but not women. Anyway, something to contemplate and really think about.